June in Virginia. The humidity is climbing, the temperature is rising, and it'll be even hotter, figuratively speaking, over the next 2 weeks. It's primary season, when nominations for the House and Senate are settled in none too subtle campaigns in which Democrats war on Democrats and Republicans war on Republicans. These nominations will be decided June 18th in elections open to all voters. Of course, early voting has been underway for weeks. Virginia doesn't register by party, and anyone can vote in a primary. Democrats can vote for Republicans, Republicans for Democrats. This raises the possibility of, well, mischief. We've seen it before. We may see it again at mid-month. In 2014, Congressman Eric Cantor, then within striking distance of becoming Speaker of the House, was challenged for the Republican nomination by Dave Bratt. Bratt attacked Cantor from the right because that's where the votes are in the GOP. The district then included Richmond's increasingly blue suburbs. Democrats saw a chance for a twofer. They could help get rid of Cantor by going into the Republican primary and voting for Bratt. Bratt was considered an underwhelming candidate, so much so that were he nominated, he might be easier to defeat in the general election. Things didn't quite work out that way. There were more than enough anti-Cantor Republican votes that he went down in flames. Bratt won in the general and again in 2016 with help from Donald Trump. 2 years later, in a slightly different district, Bratt lost to Abigail Spanberger. Now she's the presumed Democratic nominee for governor in 2025. The early betting has her winning that office, becoming Virginia's first female governor. But back to mischief and 2024. In a very red, largely rural district west and south of Richmond, Republican incumbent Bob Good is running for a third two-year term. He's opposed for the nomination by Good-McGuire, a state senator. This contest is being fought on the right, make that the far right. And the biggest distinction between these candidates may be who's more MAGA. To Trump, it's McGuire. The former president endorsed him not as much for his loyalty, but because of Good's disloyalty. Good angered Trump by endorsing Ron DeSantis for the Republican presidential nomination. Good said the Florida governor was Trump without the baggage. It's possible that Trump's endorsement of McGuire is the thumb on the scale, that it tips the nomination to McGuire. But there are a couple of things to keep in mind. First, Good denied renomination in 2020 to the Republican incumbent who had been endorsed by Trump. That defeat was among the few for Trump-backed primary candidates that year. So Good knows something about running against Trump's hand-picked candidates. There was a big difference between the 2020 nomination fight and this year's. 4 years ago, the nomination was decided in a convention in the middle of the coronavirus pandemic. Unlike primaries, conventions don't draw a lot of people. They draw fewer during a once-in-a-lifetime pandemic. Not even 2,500 people turned up. And most of them did because they were angry that the incumbent had officiated at the wedding of gay campaign volunteers. The other thing to keep in mind, this isn't open to all primary. And remember, any of the district's registered voters can participate. Might that mean just possibly that Democrats show up? They're thinking the district is very likely to elect a Republican this fall, no matter who's nominated. But might there be some mileage in helping take out Trump's candidate, if only to embarrass Trump, to raise questions about his pulling power, particularly after his criminal conviction in New York? There are plenty of Democrats in the district's cities, Danville, Charlottesville, and to a lesser extent, Lynchburg. Besides, why not have a little fun, or at least try? For the Richmond Times-Dispatch, this is Jeff Shapiro.